Crossing into Genshin, I suddenly found myself witnessing a battle between the sustainer of heavenly principles and a man. Before I could react, the man was already kneeling, beaten down. Just as the sustainer was about to deliver the final blow, the man suddenly stood up and threw half of his divine core weapon at me. "Go to the lawless lands. Survive," he shouted. Before I could say a word, the divine core teleported me away. About a minute later, I fell into the sea, surrounded by darkness, clutching the half of the divine core. Gradually, I drifted into slumber. 3,000 years passed before I was pulled out of the water by a man. To repay him, I offered him one wish, but I didn't expect his first request: blow up the jade chamber. At the time, I was sitting in a small room, chewing on a chicken leg. A man dressed in black asked me, "Mr. Lan, how are things looking? If everything is ready, we can take action tonight." I replied, "Any time works for me. Should we set off now?" "No, we need to wait another half hour. That's the best time to strike, the best moment to destroy the jade chamber." I put down the chicken leg, thinking seriously. I wasn't sure if I could beat Morix. What if he tried to stop me from blowing up the jade chamber, and where would I throw it after it was blown up? Half an hour later, the sound of the night watchman's drum echoed. I, who had been meditating at the redwood table, opened my eyes. It's time. The door to the small house swung open on its own, and I flew toward the sky. At Wangsheng funeral parlor, Child and Zhongli were sitting across from each other. Suddenly, Child put down his teacup and smiled. "Mr. Zhongli, how about we take a walk and enjoy the night view?" "Today is not the Lantern Rite Festival," Zhongli said slowly, still sipping his tea. "What's there to see on such a dark night?" "There's an old saying, a loss may turn out to be a blessing. Maybe if we take a walk, we'll see some fireworks," Child said, still smiling. Finally, after much persuasion, Zhongli reluctantly stepped outside with Child. As Zhongli looked up at the sky, a sudden explosion echoed across the night. "The jade chamber exploded," Zhongli remarked. "Interesting. Let's see who's behind this." Meanwhile, half an hour before the explosion, Ningguang was seated elegantly on a luxurious bench, reviewing some documents. Her brows furrowed more deeply as she read. "The Fatui. Why are they investigating the defenses of the jade chamber? Are they planning an assassination, or planting spies?" The sudden interest of the Fatui in the jade chamber had left Ningguang uneasy. She sighed and gazed at the full moon outside. "What's my next move?" She opened a box and took out her treasure chest set, carefully inspecting the pieces under the lamplight. Suddenly, a man dressed in black appeared before her. "Pardon me for the intrusion, Lady Tianquan, but could you leave this place?" "When did this person arrive?" "I didn't notice at all." Ningguang was alarmed but remained composed, her expression calm. "What's your purpose?" she asked. I was momentarily confused but thought for a moment and replied, "He probably wants revenge." "Revenge?" Ningguang asked slowly, scanning her surroundings. The jade chamber's guards, the Kinyan army, all their presences had vanished. Her three closest aides were gone too. Where was everyone? I interrupted her thoughts. "Don't worry, I just teleported them away." "So, are you going to hand it over, or do I have to beat you down and throw you out?" "You've got 3 seconds to decide." I wasn't planning on wasting any more time. Who knew if Morix might sense the presence of my demon god powers and come over to seal me beneath Gaiun Stone Forest? Ningguang, caught off guard, hesitated. "Fine, but may I ask, what exactly do you plan to do on the jade chamber?" "Do I really need to explain?" "Of course, I'm going to blow it up," I answered matter-of-factly. "After all, if there are people on it when it explodes, wouldn't that be dangerous?" "You make a fair point," Ningguang acknowledged with a wry smile. "But isn't it dangerous to blow up the jade chamber itself?" "All right, enough talk. Go inside, your companions are waiting. I've got a job to do." I impatiently opened a portal in the air, a purple vortex. As I summoned the portal, something on me, likely a vision, glowed with purple light. Ningguang noticed it immediately and, in the blink of an eye, struck, knocking my vision to the ground. Several geo-missiles pinned me to the wall. "What a shame, assassin. Looks like your little game of terror is over." Ningguang smiled smugly, lifting the vision off the ground with her golden gauntlet, and glanced at me, now pinned helplessly to the wall. At that moment, a blue silhouette dashed out from behind the screen. It was Ganyu, Ningguang's secretary. Lady Ningguang, I received your signal. Where's the assassin? Relax, Ganyu, Ningguang said calmly. I've already taken care of him. Ganyu looked over to where I had been, only to find the space empty. Stop looking. I'm right here. My voice suddenly came from behind Ningguang and Ganyu. Both of them spun around, attacking, but I leaped into the air, melding into the shadows of the Jade Chamber's ceiling. I told you, if you had just left quietly, I wouldn't have to resort to violence. I mocked. Ganyu, Ningguang said cautiously, he's not a vision wielder. Indeed, Lady Ningguang, Ganyu confirmed. This assassin carries a familiar scent, one of a foreign god. A god from a distant land, Ganyu asked, narrowing her eyes at me. Aren't you afraid that Morix will come and seal you beneath the Gaiun stone forest? Seal me, I chuckled. Do you even know why Morix hasn't come yet? Hearing the word seal stirred something within me, and my rage flared. I summoned a massive claw of darkness, gripping Ganyu and pulling her in front of me, because he has no idea what's happening here. Each god is powerful within their own domain, but the Jade Chamber hovers above Liyue. Morix's power doesn't fully extend here. Plus, I've shrouded this entire area in darkness. As the god of darkness, if Morix could sense me here, that would be pathetic. With a wave of my hand, I tossed Ningguang and Ganyu through the portal. Although I had claimed I'd blow up the Jade Chamber, I, being a transmigrator, knew its significance in the story. I planned to complete my agreement with Limo on the surface, while waiting for the right time to fulfill it for real. I hovered over the Jade Chamber, unleashing an overwhelming darkness that engulfed it, leaving behind only an illusion. Then I conjured a massive explosion. How about that, Mr. Zhongli? I told you there'd be fireworks, Child said with a smile. And yes, he had been part of the plan too. Although he had provided help, I hadn't really used any of it. After all, it was Ningguang who had been dealing with the Fatui the entire time. Zhongli gazed solemnly at the explosion's aftermath. He could faintly sense a familiar presence, weak but unmistakably there, hovering above the Jade Chamber just moments ago. He sighed and thought to himself, so, you've awakened. This is not a good omen. He then sent the bystanders away and returned to his room, reuniting with his true self.